2025 is going to be an absolute feast for gamers. If last year we were just warming up with trailers and rumors, now on the horizon, we've got games worth surviving through winter, spring, and basically everything else, just to get our hands on them. New franchises, legendary comebacks, projects so epic that even one trailer gives you goosebumps. Today, I'm showing you the upcoming releases that'll blow up the industry, break all the usual patterns, and maybe, just maybe, earn a spot on your favorite games list for years to come. So let's not waste any time and dive right in. Doom: The Dark Ages. Let's start with a game that just dropped on May 15th. And despite the developers' promises that this new installment would be the best in the series' history, so far people are rating it slightly lower than Doom Eternal. On OpenCritic, the average score is 86 out of 100. Almost all opinions agree on one thing. The game is great, but it has a few significant drawbacks. Like the soundtrack. The franchise's signature feature of the music is being called simply forgettable, and those dragon flights and giant mech sections that were heavily advertised in the trailers, people are calling them boring. Plus, not everyone likes the open-world design. One critic even wrote that this is the first game in the series they just don't want to replay because it feels like exhausting work clearing the map. And finally, some journalists are criticizing the plot. Even though it was interesting to peek into the Doom universe's past, and for those who don't know, this is a prequel to Doom 2016. The writers didn't manage to tell a truly unique backstory for the Doom Slayer. Everything turned out pretty, predictable. Otherwise, it's still the same Doom that abandoned the Doom Eternal formula with all the jumping and returned to the roots of Doom 2016. The Doom guy now feels like a walking tank that plows through hordes of enemies with nothing able to stop him. And yeah, there are definitely some good points too. Critics praise the Dark Ages for its large arsenal of weapons, excellent shooting impact, and beautiful environments. The campaign takes about 16 to 20 hours to complete. The game has 2 endings and sets up future DLC. Doom: The Dark Ages is out now on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S, including through Game Pass. Release date, May 15th. Gears of War: E-Day. The Coalition Studio has announced a new game in the Gears of War series called E-Day. And the developers promise this project will be the new benchmark for Unreal Engine 5's graphical capabilities for years to come, with overall image detail exceeding the previous Gears of War 5 game by 100 times. E-Day will set new standards in the video game industry for visual effects. Pretty bold statement, guys, don't you think? The Coalition team aims to maximize the graphical perfection of E-Day. Using cutting-edge technologies will achieve previously unseen levels of detail and realism. The new game will showcase advanced lighting effects, highly detailed textures, and improved physics. The developers are striving to create a true visual revolution that will become the standard for future games. E-Day is not a spin-off or an expansion of existing storylines, but a full-fledged new chapter in the series. The Coalition has long wanted to tell the franchise's extensive backstory, and believes now is the perfect time for it. The game will be an important step in the development of the Gears of War series. It's officially coming to PC and Xbox Series, but I'm guessing it might come to PlayStation 5 too. Release date hasn't been announced yet. La Quimera. This action game has had a strange journey. First, the Reburn team planned to release it on April 25th, then postponed it indefinitely, but soon announced they would eventually send the project into early access. And then on May 7th, unexpectedly released an early version. But the first reviews of the game don't inspire, unfortunately, much faith in its future. At the time of making this video, La Quimera had only 50 reviews with just 38% positive ratings. Players criticize its primitive gameplay, scarce content, and poor performance. But optimists still claim that La Quimera has potential, though if it ever gets realized, it'll be very, very far down the road. But honestly, friends, I really don't understand why release a game in such an unfinished state. Maybe you understand something I don't? Write in the comments. I'll remind you. La Quimera is a futuristic action game for 1 to 3 people. Players take on the role of elite mercenaries completing missions in a dystopian Latin America. The developers plan to develop the game in Steam Early Access for up to 18 months, improving balance, adding locations, and strengthening the connection between gameplay and plot. Let me know what you think about this game in the comments, friends. Mafia: The Old Country. Publisher 2K Games has finally presented the first gameplay trailer for Mafia: The Old Country. And I'll remind you, this is a new game in the cult franchise that will release on all current platforms simultaneously. Mafia, the Old Country will be a prequel to the main trilogy and tell the story of a criminal family's rise in Sicily at the beginning of the 20th century. The game will be completely single-player without any online elements. The developers have promised authentic realism and rich storytelling that the Mafia series is famous for. In some scenes, the game reminds me of Red Dead Redemption 2. You'll have to ride horses a lot and participate in typical Western-style shootouts. But nevertheless, friends, there will be races too, and they're not limited to just cars. The trailer also shows hand-to-hand combat, knife fights, and stealth elements. Along with publishing the trailer, 2K Games opened pre-orders. And you know what? The game's price is relatively low. Compared to something like GTA 6, which will cost you at least $100 or $150 for deluxe editions, Mafia, the Old Country developers are asking $50, and if you want to buy the deluxe version, then prepare $59. The game releases on August 8th on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. Death Stranding 2, On the Beach. Game journalists received early versions of the anticipated game from Hideo Kojima and have already played 25 to 30 hours, about 40% of the campaign, and shared their opinions. According to these early players, the game surpasses the first part in every way. It's bigger, better, more beautiful, and much better optimized. Sounds pretty sweet, of course. Reviewers compare the difference between the first and second Death Stranding to the transition from Zelda, Breath of the Wild, to Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, the games share the same foundation, but the sequel is so expanded in all directions that the original seems basically primitive. Journalists say the continent is very diverse. There will also be many different cataclysms, from earthquakes and floods to sandstorms and forest fires. Additionally, the developers have finally implemented a day and night cycle. Beyond that, Death Stranding 2 will have more varied missions. Not just cargo delivery, but also clearing areas of enemies and finding allies. Overall, the game is more dynamic than the first part, both in terms of story and gameplay. In the latter respect, the game resembles Metal Gear Solid 5. If the first part discouraged player aggression, in the sequel, the approach to enemy encounters, stealth, or open combat is up to the player to choose. The plot unfolds faster. There's a recap of the first part and a built-in glossary. The developers have also listened to player feedback. So for example, in the second part, you can create a playlist with tracks and listen to them within the Chorale network. Technically, the developers have managed to create one of the most beautiful games on PlayStation 5. The level of detail and draw distance is simply amazing. And the game actually works excellently even on the base PlayStation 5. Out of nowhere, Rockstar dropped the second GTA 6 trailer, completely recorded on PlayStation 5. As expected, it caused quite a stir. In almost 3 minutes, they showed us not just a collection of impressive scenes, but also many details hinting at the plot, gameplay features, and atmosphere of the game. Let's discuss, friends, some findings from eagle-eyed fans. The second GTA 6 trailer certainly surprised but especially impressed attentive viewers with the super realistic detail of seemingly minor things, like beer bottles. Just after the 2-minute mark, you can see bubbles rising through the glass, condensation on the surface and light, and even a TV reflected in the glass. By the way, in the same frame, there's a console with an unusual design, but with a controller clearly inspired by the DualShock 4. Many gamers are already joking that Rockstar accidentally leaked the design of the new PlayStation 6, or at least it's a hint that the game will release with the launch of the new console in 2026. Besides realistic bottles in the console, the trailer showcases its graphics overall, from reflections on glass surfaces to very realistic water and detailed shadows, despite some frame drops noticed in certain shots. By the way, someone noticed an interesting detail. The main character, Jason and Lucy, are working out. He's lifting weights and she's hitting a punching bag, which has already sparked rumors about the possible return of character development elements, similar to those in the legendary GTA San Andreas. There, the character's physical form directly depended on the food the hero ate in workouts. Also in the trailer, you can see Jason's hairstyle, beard, and even skin tone changing. Before you know it, friends, we might see the return of real-time beard growth from Red Dead Redemption 2 and a similar system for tanning. And in the scene with the ammunition store advertisement, an impressive arsenal of weapons is shown, possibly even the most extensive in the series' history. "We have more weapons than the law allows," the ad says. This isn't everything gamers have noticed. they still have plenty of time to analyze every second of the recent demonstration. We've got plenty of time. The release is set for May 26, 2026, and so far only on Xbox Series and PlayStation 5. Metal Gear Solid Delta: Snake Eater. Konami presented a new trailer showing not only familiar faces and moments from the original, but also new scenes that will change our perception of the classic. The release date for Metal Gear Solid Delta: Snake Eater is already planned for August 28, 2025. The game is coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC. It's worth noting, by the way, that the game looks simply superb. The developers have managed to preserve the atmosphere, visual style, and now classic scene direction. The game meets all modern standards and doesn't fall short in graphics quality and detail compared to top new releases. For series fans, this won't just be a remake. It's a chance to relive favorite moments anew, but with fresh perspectives on the familiar Metal Gear Solid universe. The trailer looks like a promise that Snake Eater will maintain the spirit of the original while offering plenty of new features, surprising even the most dedicated fans. The new trailer also confirmed the inclusion of the Snake Versus, Monkey Mode in the remake. And once again, friends, the game releases August 28, 2025 on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and PC. Resident Evil 9. Capcom remains silent about the future of Resident Evil 9, but the rumors, friends, are getting more interesting. Insider Dusk Golem, whose statements occasionally prove true, recently claimed that Resident Evil 9 will be a true reimagining of the series, just as Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7 were in their time. This is precisely why the development cycle for the 9th installment is so lengthy. Capcom wants to present us with a fresh look at the series and won't be copying the 7th, 8th, or any other part. According to Dusk Golem, the developers are preparing a completely new game style, as well as significant changes in mechanics and atmosphere. In short, fans should expect a breakthrough game in every sense. The main character will be Leon Kennedy. Initially, Jill also played an important role, but this time the developers decided to push her to the background, and she might not even appear. It's also already known that the game will take place 4 years after the events of Resident Evil Village. Overall, friends, Resident Evil 9 will conclude the events of Resident Evil 7 and Village. According to Dusk Golem, Resident Evil 9 will be announced by the end of this year. However, not everyone believes Dusk Golem's words, as his Resident Evil insider info hasn't always come true. But generally among all Resident Evil insiders, his information can be considered somewhat trustworthy. There have been times when he predicted everything down to the smallest details, and everything eventually came true. Well, let's hope he doesn't let us down this time either. The Midnight Walk. The developers of Lost in Random from independent studio Moonhood have announced the release of their new game, a stylish horror adventure called The Midnight Walk. Gamers will enter a world of nightmares where, paired with a funny sidekick, they'll make their way through dark lands and find friends among hordes of monsters. The most notable feature of the title is its visual design, as all locations were handcrafted by developers using clay, which was then carefully scanned and transferred into the game. And for this, a big respect to the developers. It's something truly unusual and new in the gaming world. Right at release, the authors lifted the embargo on publishing final reviews, and overall, critics have warmly received the new title. At the time of recording this video, The Midnight Walk has 78 points on Metacritic and 80 points on OpenCritic, with an 83% recommendation. For the most part, journalists are delighted with the artistic component and the game's plot, but note as downsides its short length, fairly simple gameplay, and that the game seems more tailored for VR. The Midnight Walk is already out on PC via Steam and PlayStation 5. British studio White Paper Games has presented their new development, a rather dark thriller called I Am Ripper. The game is set in Britain in the late 1980s. Against the backdrop of economic crisis and social instability, the plot takes you to 1988 in a small port town in northwest England. This town is rocked by a series of brutal murders, and it soon becomes clear only one person is behind them. You'll have to conduct an investigation, make very difficult moral decisions, and influence the fates of those around you. This is not a puzzle game, not a horror, and not a detective game, but it has all the main components of these genres necessary to create something interesting, explore key themes, and characters that seem alive and plausible. Key features of I Am Reaper include non-linear storytelling with a branching choice system, a well-developed script, and high interactivity. For example, one of the gameplay mechanics will be cutting stitches. This emphasizes attention to small details and immersion in the atmosphere. The game will be released on PC, on Steam, and Epic Games Store. The developers haven't said anything about consoles yet. Approximate release date, late 2025. Spine. This is a single-player action game with a rich plot. The game focuses on cinematic gameplay combining intense shootouts and close combat. Events take place in a future city transformed by the artificial intelligence of the Tensa Corporation. A large-scale conflict involving several powerful factions unfolds on the streets of this city. The main character is a rebellious street artist called Redline. She fights against the regime established by the corporation. She's helped by Spine, a combat implant with its own intelligence. The project is being created on the Unreal Engine 5. The game's authors emphasize cinematography, achieved not only through visual effects but also through realistic and smooth animations. Approximate release date, 2025. The game will be released on PC and current generation consoles. Killer Bean. This upcoming action roguelite lets you take on the role of a bean who embodies all the cool traits of every action hero and spy you've ever seen. Only, for some reason, in the form of a bean with arms and legs. After being betrayed by the shadow agency Bean worked for and learning the truth about their evil plans, Killer Bean decided to dedicate his life to destroying them. However, this is easier said than done, as Killer Bean will face armies of enemies who are better trained and stronger than him. The humorous gameplay trailer shows the game's open world, which transforms each time you start a new single-player campaign. As Killer Bean the Assassin, you can destroy enemies from both first and third-person perspectives, ranging from soldiers to giant Metal Gear-like walking mechs. Apply wrestling moves to them. Blow them up with rockets or just run them over in your car. Killer Bean will enter Steam Early Access this summer. IGN staff presented 13 minutes of gameplay from the standalone DLC Unfinished Business for the well-received action game RoboCop: Rogue City. In the video, the brave RoboCop walks through the floors of a massive building, methodically eliminating armed mercenaries. The main DLC action will take place in this building, the giant Omni Tower residential complex, built by OCP as a safe haven for Detroit residents. And as usual, everything went wrong, and the structure was seized by mercenaries who turned the tower into their fortress. Each floor is now littered with traps and overflowing with bloodthirsty criminals. Since these aren't just bandits, but experienced fighters with high-tech weapons, the police again need help from the fearless RoboCop, whose arsenal, by the way, includes new devices like the cryogun. Helping the hero will be scientist Miranda Hale, who previously worked at OCP on the RoboCop project. By the way, the developers have also prepared a series of flashbacks where gamers will get to play as Alex Murphy before becoming a cyborg, to learn more about RoboCop's backstory. The Unfinished Business DLC launches July 17th on PC via Steam, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series. And by the way, since the DLC is standalone, friends, you don't need to buy the main game to play it. Just buy the DLC and you're ready to clean up Omni Tower. ArcheAge Chronicles. During State of Play, Kakao Games announced they're preparing ArcheAge Chronicles, an online role-playing game with a dark fantasy world, numerous adventures, and brutal confrontations. These are the first footage of this project, so the developers didn't reveal many details, but shared fragments of dynamic gameplay. The game takes place 50 years after the original, taking you on epic adventures, participating in enhanced combat, and exploring vast uncharted worlds filled with strategic battles and rich storytelling. Set up your home, master life skills, and discover new realms in a dynamic universe. Get ready to overcome challenges and solve ancient mysteries in ArcheAge Chronicles. The game will be released on PC, PlayStation 5, and PlayStation 5 Pro. Fable? And we'll finish with a game that's been delayed until 2026, although initially planned for release this year. Xbox Game Studios head Craig Duncan stated that the project needs more time. According to him, the wait will definitely be worth it. Playground Games is working on an extremely ambitious game that will offer impressive graphics, engaging gameplay, and classic British humor. We're thrilled with what Playground Games is doing, says Craig Duncan. Yes, the delay isn't the news fans were hoping for, but I can absolutely assure you, Fable is worth waiting a bit longer for. Duncan noted that he's seen the gameplay and was very impressed. According to him, Playground Games is carefully reimagining Fable, creating the most beautiful version of Albion in the series' history. Now we can finally see the gameplay too. The developers have published a small gameplay trailer recorded in the pre-alpha version of the game. And although Xbox didn't announce an official reason for the delay, limiting themselves to the generic "we just need more time," insiders suggest that Xbox intends to release Fable simultaneously on all platforms, including even PlayStation 5. Initially, the project was supposed to release in 2025, but now the developers have been given additional time to adapt to Microsoft's new strategy. And the strategy is that from now on, they'll release games not only on PC and Xbox as before, but now on PlayStation 2. Interesting. If there's no more Xbox exclusivity, then what's the point of buying an Xbox? What do you think about this, friends? Write in the comments. These are the projects awaiting us in 2025. And honestly, if even half of them live up to expectations, it'll be one of the most powerful years for gaming in the last decade. Some games look like new milestones in the industry, others like a warm return of what we've been waiting for so long. Write in the comments which game you're looking forward to the most, and what you're ready to dive into from day one. Don't forget to hit like if this was interesting, and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming top lists, reviews, and fresh collections. And as always, I'm not saying goodbye. See you in new videos. Until next time.